My brother is lying. Andrea's voice echoed in the courtroom, sharp, clear, and cold. Every eye turned. The air thinned. George, sitting confidently a moment ago, froze. What did you just say? He asked, voice cracking under the weight of it. She stood. A small girl with wild hair, trembling hands, and eyes that held too much truth for someone her age. You're lying, she said again, louder this time. About everything. The judge leaned forward. Andrea, you may speak. Say what you need to. George's lawyer was already halfway to his feet. Objection, Your Honor, she's just a child. Sit down, the judge snapped. I want to hear her. Andrea's throat was tight, but she spoke like someone who had waited too long to stay quiet. I heard him. After my mom died, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs to get water. He was on the phone. She looked at the judge, eyes locked. He said, it worked. She's finally out of the way. Then he laughed. Gasps rippled behind her. Mary, her grandmother, reached for her hand, but Andrea didn't stop. He said Mom was going to change the insurance. That she didn't trust him anymore. That if he didn't act fast, he'd lose everything. So he made her car fail. He made her brakes fail. George was shaking his head, furious. That's a lie. She's making it up. She doesn't understand what she heard. I understand exactly what I heard. Andrea's voice was steel now. You weren't sad when she died. You barely looked at me. You just went through her papers. I saw you burn something in the fireplace. Then, out of nowhere, you started smiling at me. Buying me things. Taking me out like we were suddenly best friends. Her voice cracked now, not from fear, but betrayal. You were trying to make everyone believe you were a good brother. But you're not. You didn't even love her. The judge glanced at George. Her face unreadable, but her silence was loud. Andrea swallowed hard. He said, it was her or us. That's what he told someone. I don't know who, but I know what he meant. George exploded. This is a circus. She's been poisoned by that old woman. She doesn't know anything. The judge slammed the gavel. Mr. George, one more outburst and I'll have you removed. Andrea, go on. She nodded, though her voice softened. My mom loved me. She told me to be brave. But since she died, I've been alone. He never comforted me. He never said her name. He just acted like she never existed. George's lawyer didn't even try to object now. He looked cornered, like the air had drained out of him too. She didn't die by accident, Andrea finished. He made sure of it. The silence that followed was absolute. You could hear the breath leave the room. George tried to speak again, but his voice was a growl, and the officers were already moving toward him. Andrea didn't look away as he was pulled back. She stared at him the way someone stares down a shadow that's haunted them for too long. And for the first time in weeks, she felt something close to peace. She wasn't scared anymore. She was done being quiet. The courtroom doors slammed shut behind George. Andrea stood frozen in place, her hand still in Mary's. Her small chest rose and fell quickly, her heart pounding like thunder in her ears. She had done it, said it all, but something inside her whispered that this wasn't the end. Mary leaned down. You were incredible, sweetheart. You were brave. Andrea looked up. He's not going to stop, is he? Mary hesitated, then shook her head slowly. Not easily. But we'll be ready. As they stepped outside into the grey afternoon, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Mary covered Andrea with her coat and held her tight, whispering, keep walking. Don't answer. Just breathe. But later that night, the silence returned. Mary sat reading beside the fireplace. Andrea lay in her small bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw George's face, red with fury, eyes full of something worse than hate. The knock came just after midnight. 3 soft raps. Then silence. Mary tensed. She slowly rose, motioning Andrea to stay quiet. She crept to the door, looked through the peephole, no one. She opened it anyway. A small envelope sat on the porch, sealed in red wax. No name. No writing. Just the wax, pressed with the shape of a serpent. Mary's face went pale. She picked it up, closed the door, locked it, then walked to the kitchen without saying a word. Andrea followed. "What is it, Grandma?" Mary didn't answer right away. She broke the seal and pulled out a folded piece of paper. The handwriting was sharp. Aggressive. "The truth always has a price. You've paid part of it. The rest is coming." Mary stared at the words. This isn't from George." Andrea's eyes widened. "Then who?" "I don't know." Mary's voice was low, almost a whisper. But someone knew what he was doing. Someone helped. Andrea stepped back, chills crawling up her arms. "You mean, there's more?" Mary nodded. "Someone else wanted your mother gone. Maybe even more than George did." Andrea sat down slowly. What if Mom found something out? Something dangerous? Mary didn't respond. She just looked at the fire, eyes filled with old fear returning from the shadows. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then went out. Total darkness. Andrea clutched Mary's hand. "Grandma." "I know. Stay close." Mary reached into a drawer, pulled out a flashlight, but as she turned it on, the beam landed on the window. A shape stood outside. Not moving. Just watching. Andrea froze. The shape slowly lifted one hand. Pressed a single finger to where its lips would be. Silence. Then it vanished. Mary dropped the flashlight. Andrea whispered, "What do they want?" Mary didn't answer right away. But in her eyes, Andrea saw it. They weren't just fighting George anymore. They had pulled on a thread tied to something far bigger. The window shattered. Glass exploded inward as Mary threw herself over Andrea, shielding her. A brick rolled across the floor, wrapped in black cloth. Andrea screamed. Mary grabbed her and pulled her behind the couch. "Stay down. Don't move," she whispered. Footsteps. Outside. Faint. Fast, then silence again. Mary peeked up, heart pounding. The street was empty. No car. No movement. Just wind rustling through the trees like nothing had happened. She crawled toward the brick, carefully unwrapping the cloth. A note. She knew. She shouldn't have. Neither should you. Andrea's voice was small. "Grandma, who are they talking about?" Mary's hands were shaking. "Your mother." Andrea's eyes widened. "She didn't just die, did she? She was silenced." Mary nodded slowly. "She found something out. Something she never told me." Andrea looked at the broken glass. "We need to find out what it was." Mary hesitated, but the look on Andrea's face, steady, brave, was too much like Sarah's to ignore. "She had a journal," Mary whispered. "She used to write in it every night. Maybe it's still in the old house." Andrea's heart skipped. "The house? The one Dad locked?" Mary nodded. "We'll go tomorrow. Before anyone can stop us." The next day, just before dawn, they reached the house. It stood like a forgotten memory, quiet and crooked. Boards covered the windows. The front door was chained. Mary picked the lock. Andrea glanced around. "What if someone's watching?" "They probably are," Mary muttered. "So let's be quick." Inside, the air was stale. Dust coated everything. But under all the silence, something felt wrong. Like the house was holding its breath. Andrea led the way upstairs, straight to Sarah's old room. The walls were untouched. The bed still made. The closet door creaked as she opened it, and inside, hidden beneath a pile of blankets, was a worn leather journal. "I found it," she whispered. Mary opened it gently. The first few pages were filled with poems. Then, a sudden shift. Sarah's handwriting became frantic. "George is talking to someone. Not just about money. Something bigger. He keeps mentioning Red Serpent. I don't know what it means yet, but it scares me." Mary flipped to the next page. "I think they're watching me. I told George the first wanted Andrea and I to leave. He smiled. Too easily. I don't trust that smile. Andrea's lips trembled. She knew. Mary kept reading, but the last page was ripped out. Andrea's eyes caught something, on the floor beneath the dresser. A scrap of paper. She picked it up. Only one word was scribbled on it. Vault. What does that mean? Andrea asked. Mary's face went pale. I know where it is. It's not here. Andrea looked up. Then where? Mary stood slowly. In your father's office. Andrea's blood turned cold. But he's in jail, she whispered. Mary looked out the window. Her voice low. Exactly. And that's the only reason we still have time. Mary slammed the car door. Get in. Fast, she said, eyes scanning the street. Andrea jumped in, clutching the journal to her chest like a shield. They didn't speak the whole ride. Both knew where they were going. George's private office, the one locked behind a steel door at his company's abandoned warehouse. The same one Sarah had once told Mary he never let her enter. Mary parked 2 blocks away. Walk from here, she whispered. Security cameras. They crept along the alley, avoiding light. The warehouse loomed ahead, old but not empty. A car was parked out front. Andrea grabbed Mary's sleeve. Someone's here. Mary's voice was steady. We go anyway. They slipped around the back. Mary knew the old delivery entrance, rusted but weak. A quick push, and it groaned open. Inside, the air was cold. Andrea coughed against the dust. Footsteps echoed above. Someone was upstairs. They froze. Then a door creaked. Silence again. Mary pulled Andrea behind a wall. That office, she whispered, pointing to the far side. Help me move that cabinet. They shoved it aside, revealing a keypad. Andrea remembered the journal. She flipped through the pages until she found a sequence, Sarah's birthday reversed. She typed it in. Beep. Click. The vault door unlocked. They stepped inside. It wasn't an office. It was a room full of secrets. Walls covered in photos, maps, red string connecting faces. George's, Sarah's, even Mary's. At the center, an envelope labeled Project Serpent. Mary opened it. Inside, government files. Contracts. Sarah's name listed under Asset Exposure Risk. George's under Internal Cleanser. Andrea read aloud. They hired him to silence her. Mary stepped back, horror on her face. She was a whistleblower. Then, footsteps. Heavy. Fast. They turned. George. Not handcuffed. Not in jail. Smiling. You really thought I'd stay locked up? He asked, stepping into the room. You never understood who I work for. Mary lunged to shield Andrea. Stay back. George raised a gun. Give me the file. Andrea, trembling, stepped forward. Why? Why, Mom? She got curious, he said. She asked questions. And now you're doing the same. A sudden click. A flashlight beam behind George. Drop it. Police. Dozens. Guns raised. George froze. A female officer stepped in, badge out. We intercepted the footage. We know everything now. You're done, Mr. Red Serpent. George's face twisted. You have no idea what you've started. This doesn't end with me. He dropped the gun. Officers swarmed him. Andrea stared at him, eyes steady. It ends now. As George was dragged out, he looked back one last time. Not in rage, but fear. Andrea turned to Mary. He's right. This goes deeper. Mary nodded. Then we expose it. All of it. That night, Andrea uploaded the files to every news station in the country. The scandal exploded. Top secret network uncovered. Project Serpent exposed. People marched in the streets. Names were arrested. Others vanished. But Andrea didn't hide. She stood on live television, staring into the camera. I'm Andrea. I'm 12. They killed my mother. They tried to silence me. But I'm still here. Her voice didn't shake. They trained my father to be a weapon. But love made me stronger. The world listened. And for the first time in a long time, it changed. Andrea wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a reckoning.